Okay, I think we're going to be live in about a minute. We are live now. Yes, yes, yes. All right. But I want to make it official, man. We had some technical issues, and as you see, it sounded a little later than usual. But at the end of the day, I know that it was meant for me to have my man Gabriel in the house tonight. Gabriel, how you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful. A pleasure to be with you, Greg.
Well, man, you're looking great. You're feeling great. And you're all about that tonight because this is a certified health coach, nutritionist. I mean, he has dedicated his life to empowering people to have healthier communities. So I'm just excited to have him here from the center of paradise. I'm just going to say Gabriel A because he knows I'll mess up that last name.
That's fine with me. It's easier.
Yeah, no doubt. But listen, man, it's a pleasure to have you here tonight. I tell people we're here to inspire you. We're here to empower you tonight. Welcome to the GG Factor every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock usually, but tonight we had a few issues, but guess what? Against all odds, my man is in the house tonight. I'm excited to have him here, and we're still going to give you the full gamut of what I say will be a very good experience tonight because he is totally about empowering people to be a better version of themselves, to define themselves, to live a healthier life in mind, body, and spirit. So I'm going to stop my music here and I'm going to make it official because once I do that, it's all on you. Let me see if I can get this media back over here back. Let me get it right. All right, I can stop that. Okay, when I make the music stop, that means that I have that all-American question. Gabriel, man, thank you so very much for being with us tonight. You know, my first question is always this, man. What is your why? Why did you decide that, being a health coach matters? Why did you decide that you wanted to just get into this arena of, helping people be a healthier, should I say, individual, helping them to be able to realize what it really means to live and function at their maximum potential? The floor is yours. I'm going to turn it right over to you. What is your why tonight?
Absolutely. Well, Greg, again, a pleasure being with you tonight. And my story started about 17 years ago and, started in unfortunate circumstances when both my parents were diagnosed with cancer.
Wow.
And they both passed away within the same year, 3 months apart from each other. As you can imagine, that's devastating. Could be devastating for any child. And something, at that point, because a lot of us, we basically, we deal with ill parents or relatives, we kind of accept it, look, they passed on, we move on. It was unfortunate. This is what happened, why it happened. However, I felt like, there's got to be a reason for this. There's got to be a different way to live. There's got to be so. Not only at that point, I started questioning, is this preventable? What can I do to change my lifestyle? So that was a turning point for me, not only to learn about nutrition and physical activity and herbal medicine. And not only I changed my lifestyle, but basically I devoted myself to help others, and I spent, countless nights studying, and I spent, and researching and accessing, all kinds of specialty books and following a lot of, functional medicine doctors and a lot of specialty books and noticed, and not only, it could help me, all this, they could help me, but also I was able to slowly start helping others, and we could discuss, and how I got into the health coaching and everything too.
Well, so, first and foremost, man, I have to say that you're definitely one of those people who are probably a rare cohort. In other words, we don't talk to many people who will lose both parents and lose them within 1 year of each other. How old were you and how long ago what age were you when that happened?
So this happened 17 years ago. So, I was about 30 years old, when this happened. And my parents were fairly young, 63 and 65.
Wow.
My dad was 65, mom was 63, and they passed away within 3 months apart from each other. So,
it's amazing, man.
And they were back home. I was far away from them too. I spent some time with them. Then I came back. I'm originally from Romania, so they were back home in my country. I was in the U.S. So
Well,
imagine.
that was one of my questions. I gave you the question, so we might as well segue right into that when it was saying. And I was going to ask you, are you a native Floridian? If not, where are you born? And you said something about Romania. So go ahead, tell us a little bit about your etiology. Where were you born? What brought you to South Florida?
Absolutely. And you know what, that question, there's very few native Floridians, as you know. There's
I'm one of them, though. I was born in Tampa, Florida, no doubt.
You are one of them, but obviously a lot of people came from somewhere else, and I came from Romania in Europe, so that's where I grew up. I lived for the first 20 years, and then came into the United States when I was 20 years old. Lived in Dallas, Texas for about 4.5 years, and came to Florida in 2003 and made it my home.
Wow. And you lived in Dallas, Texas. How long will you say you were there?
Almost 5 years. So
from Romania to Dallas, Texas. So,
yeah.
Wow. And here's what's very interesting about that. I've only been in and out of Texas, flying through. A singer that works with me or families from Lufkin, Texas. And I went there for mom's going home. And other than that, I've never really spent any real time there. Now, a good friend of mine who just moved away, his name's Jessel, he loves Dallas. He lives there. And he's constantly trying to convince me that you need to come here, Gregory. You need to get some property, because he's a real estate investor and contractor and stuff like that. He seems to love it. And Dallas is such a huge state. It's like another world within this world to me. They're governed under somewhat of a different umbrella. So what was it your interest in just leaving that particular state? Was it your occupation? Was it school? Was it work? What brought you to Florida?
Look, I've always loved tropical weather. So, and even though I grew up in a fairly, cold country, I mean, we have 4 seasons in Romania. We've always waited for those 3 months in the summer so we could go to the beach, enjoy the nice weather. So for me at that point was Florida or California. I knew I wanted to be somewhere so we picked Florida to be a little closer to Europe on the side too. So on the East Coast, and I truly enjoyed it and made it our home.
Got it. Well, welcome to sunny South Florida, and I guess that's why that word paradise, center of paradise. That's the unique name for a health coach and a nutritionist. But we do live in paradise, man. I was in my pool swimming yesterday. I swam for about a half hour. I took a 2.5 mile walk, and I'm a 25-time marathon. I might as well segue and just talk about that. When I met you and I met, and I was just out having a little fun. As a 25-time marathon, I'm always looking around to see what can I do to take my life to the next level and continue to be wild. Big age difference between you and I. I'm 70 years old. I'm in the 4th quarter, but I really attribute my ability to stay functional to the very things that I know you're going to share with us tonight, because your health is your wealth. You know that food is fuel. You understand the connection between mind, body, and spirit, because when I met you, and guess what I got in my hand? I brought it with me tonight. Yeah, this is the way Gabriel and I met. We met at Nutrition Smart, and he was doing a display of a product of his, and although my wife knew about Manuka honey, I really didn't have any idea that she even had it in the house. But when you start to talk to me within a matter of 3 to 5 minutes, as you know, I thought we were just going to speak to each other, say what's going on, how you doing. I forgot the young lady's name that was doing the webinar in the back of the store. And I met with, that was my intention, but God had another plan that you and I should connect. And when I realized, and you talked to me about this Manuka honey and everything that's going on with it, the qualities about it, I decided, whoa, let me just go a little deeper with my man Gabriel and find out what's going on. And so from that, by what I call coincidence, it is what I call a God incidence. Here we are. So now that I'm holding this, I would like for you to just kind of do me a favor, because it's kind of imperative for me to tell people and talk to them, or have you tell them and talk to them about what really is the difference in Manuka honey. Why do you have such a strong support for it? And I would imagine that you could quantify that you're doing and promoting and pushing this product like you were for some quantifiable reasons. So could you elaborate on that for me? I would just want to know a little bit more about why Manuka honey versus the typical across the shelf, brand that everyone would buy.
Absolutely. So it's a great question. So look, over the years, as I was learning about natural remedies and items, that could help us support our immune system, I
Mm-hmm.
came across Manuka honey. Manuka honey, among other supplements and other products that could boost our immune system. I've noticed. I started using it. I had read about it. I had done some research about it, and I started using even before Central Paradise was born. I started using other brands of Manuka honey. So
Mm-hmm.
but one thing, I've noticed, obviously, Manuka honey, and I'll dive into it shortly about the quality and different things. I noticed how well it works for the immune system, so that's
Oh,
why when we founded Center of Paradise, we decided that one of the products, and we could touch briefly on some of the other ones too, but one of the product, it will be a Manuka honey. So now, for those people that do not know what the Manuka honey is, because it's still an item fairly unknown to people, to a good majority of people, even though it's been around for many, many years. So just to dive a little bit into the history, look, the Manuka flower, only grows in New Zealand, is native of New Zealand. The indigenous people of New Zealand, the Maori people, were using it for many, many years as
oh,
medicine and
interesting.
tincture and, all kinds of, obviously ailments and things like that. So back in 1839, they said, you know what, this is an amazing plant. Why don't we bring bees to pollinate this flower? So they actually brought bees from Europe to New Zealand in 1839 to actually start pollinating the Manuka flower. So basically, it's the same process as any raw honey. However, the only difference is the bees pollinate the Manuka flower instead of a regular wildflower, local. They pollinate the Manuka flower that comes with amazing, amazing health benefits.
Hmm.
Very high, Manuka honey is very high in antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory properties compared to regular honey.
Hmm.
It's used for the immune system to help with any sore throat, strep throat, coughs, infection, asthma, allergies. Amazing for gut health. And look, we know lately it's been a lot of talk, around gut health. A lot of people have gut issues. I talk to people all the time. They have digestive problems. They have bloating. They suffer from inflammation,
Yes.
irritable bowel syndrome, small
Yes.
intestinal bacterial overgrowth, ulcers, gastritis. So Manuka honey has been studied extensively, and Manuka honey has been proven to help with all this. So not
Hmm.
only with inflammation, IBS, SIBO, leaky gut, acid reflux, inflammation. So basically, it acts as a band-aid for that gut lining. We all have this pouch in around our stomach, basically,
Yes.
that a lot of people have damage. Whether it's junk food, pesticides, things that are harsh in our food, and it really destroyed people's gut, and that's how people started to get leaky gut, where the stomach acids started leaking outside the stomach
Hmm.
pouch. So
Interesting.
Manuka honey basically coats as a coating for that lining, for that stomach lining. So amazing, amazing for gut health. In addition to that,
Let me just say something. I just have to stop you for a minute because when you said it acts as a bandage, and now from seeing someone like myself now, this one is about empty, and I'm about to get another one. I'll be going over to Nutrition Spot or getting them through you or someone. But how long? Okay, how long would you say someone, a client, someone you become a health coach with, and you obviously advise and want someone to obviously start taking this with a wooden spoon, as you said, also, which I have. But how long would it be before someone could really almost start to see a reversal of some of those symptomatic things that are pre-existing with them? What is it? A month? Is it 2 months? How long you recommend that someone would? Is it an ongoing lifestyle management regarding health? I want you to elaborate because I love the way you use that word, a bandage, metaphorically speaking. It's just kind of but if that's the case, and I knew tonight would be an incentive for me to have my ears a little open more because you're just inspiring me more to say I got to stay with it. So how long would it be from the inception to start really feeling and seeing a difference?
absolutely. And look, every person's different. Some people may have a more deep issue than others. So, but as far as relief, a lot of people start noticing relief within days. As far as healing, as far as, remember, it could be, again, depending on how advanced the stage of every person is. So it could
Mm.
be anywhere from a month to 2 months. So for some people, it could be an ongoing thing. all because it really, really is something that I strongly recommend, and I take it ongoing, not for any particular issue. I just take it for regular gut health. However, I always advise people, look, all these natural foods, these natural remedies, are intended to help us boost our immune system, but that does not mean that you're not going to take care of your nutrition pack, that you're not going to. So you still have to take care and nurture your gut, nurture your stomach, eat nourishing foods, not that damage your stomach. Because guess what? If you eat the manuka honey, it's amazing, it's great, but then you're going to go out and you're going to, splurge on fast food and all these things, religiously all the time. I'm not saying for people not to have a balance, because balance is important. Yes. However, you do have to obviously watch what you put in your stomach as well too. So that recovery, it really depends on how disciplined the person is, on how their nutrition, lifestyle is in general too. So for some people, could be sooner than others.
Well, you know something, I have to say this. You use one word in your rebuttal back to me, discipline. And one thing about living a healthy lifestyle, it requires persistent and consistent discipline. For me, I'm just holding up once again. I'll just use myself as an example. Out of these 25 marathons, I can tell you this, that along the way, when I was into about maybe the 10th one, I really started to get a lot deeper about the things you were talking about from a nutritionist perspective. And I changed my diet. I stopped eating pork and beef. I cut down a lot of sugars. I just really realized I didn't need that kind of food. And I realized, and I want you to kind of I always want to just ask that question, because I realized that pork and beef are very hard on the digestive system. And I don't know, are you a vegetarian yourself, or what would be, because I think that was one of my questions. So I told you I would find these little talking points and at random just shoot into them. But I would like for you to just kind of give your pros and cons about someone who's eating meat, and even if they're not going to stop eating pork and beef, should it be in moderation, or do you lean more on the vegetarian aspect of your healthy diet? Because this is one of the main things that I think is really a big problem about health. They said 1 million people, man, last year in Broward County alone went to the hospital emergency room. Over 1 million people. Now, of course, it's a very heterogeneous group, but just the fact, we know a great majority of them are probably just sick people. Of course, accidents happen, people have things go down, but a lot of these people, man, are just not healthy. And we know pharmaceutical business is huge. I watch the evening news sometimes, Gabriel, I'm sure you can concur with me. Almost every other commercial is about nothing but some medication you got to take. And then those minute, really small disclaimers about all of the potential side effects. And I say to myself,
the long list.
Scary. So here's my big question about that. For the first question, I'd like for you to let me know, where do you stand on the position of, do you advocate for someone to be more of a vegetarian? Do you advocate for people to still continue to eat meat? Are you an advocate of what I'm speaking about pork and beef? How do you feel about that?
No, and I'm glad you asked, because this is big now, and you see online, and it gets so confusing for people, because you have one person and might be an expert advocating for a vegetarian, one for plant-based, one for a carnivore diet, one for So, and you know what the funny part about it is that they all make sense. They all explain it to you, that they explain it to you in a way that they all make sense, right? They all present their benefits. And so look, over the years, I'll be honest with you, I've tried them all. I've tried vegetarian, I tried plant-based almost entirely, not fully, but plant-based. I tried a little bit heavier on the meat as well too. Not so much on the pork. Even though I grew up eating pork in Romania, I don't really eat pork. So I haven't eaten pork. It's not something that I eat. However, but I do eat beef. So what I found that a lot of people, based on nutritional type, I found that it's not a one size fits all. I've seen people that thrive on a vegetarian diet or a plant-based diet. And I've seen people that have a terrible side effect from some of the vegetables, bloating and constipation. They can digest them properly too. Some of the vegetables contain oxalates, especially some of the dark greasy lean vegetables. So and then I've seen people thriving on this carnivore diet. So I'm like, okay, I've tried it, and for me, honestly, it's been a little bit about balance. I cannot. I like meat, But however, it's very important to stick with quality. We all know what's going on in the industry in general too. So look, if you're gonna eat meat, find a grass-fed, find an organic piece of meat, whether it's chicken. If you're gonna eat fish, don't eat farm, eat wild caught. So it's very important because we all know that a lot of the factory farmed meats, in addition to not being such a great quality, they're fed a whole grain diet instead of grass, instead of pastures. They're given antibiotics. They're given they live in all kinds of conditions. So obviously has to do a lot with the nutritional, aspect of the actual meat. If you're gonna do that. Now, I'm not disregarding because I love fruits and vegetables, and I think a lot of the vitamins and a lot of the antioxidants, I'm a big advocate, in eating your fruits and vegetables. I lean a little bit more onto the fruits, as well too, because they're a little bit easier under digestion, and I think they present a lot of benefits. And look, some people fear sugars, and I honestly feel that we should not fear naturally occurring sugar from fruit, from honey.
Right. I'm so glad. Yeah, man, I'm so glad you mentioned that. People are always hollering at people about eating too much fruit and or too much sugar in it, or you should eat a banana every day. Oh man, but like me right now, my wife religiously helps me out with it. I'm big on just a fruit smoothie. I have collagen as a powder I use, and a couple of other ones. Are you familiar with Dr. Gundry? He's one of the guys. I got a product that Dr. Gundry's marketing. A lot of people are pro and con against him, but I've come to be able to quantify what he's telling is not a lie. The man lost 70 pounds. He is a registered medical doctor. And when somebody can quantify and they're not telling you a lie, like I always tell my kids, either they can quantify or they're suspecting they're telling you a lie. And I would lean in and tell them that, So here's the point I want to make, that I'm so glad you are disclosing these things about the pros and cons one way or another. See, for me, do you agree that meats do leave toxins in the system? Do you agree or not? They say, digestively speaking, hard meats, that is why I really did my research, and I could quantify that I didn't need that hard beef. I stopped eating pork and beef, man, 40 years ago. I don't miss that kind of food. And there are times when I'll just go with, just black beans and rice and just having salads and then when I do, and this is what I want to segue into, I want to know, how do you feel about the cleansing aspect of fasting? And just let's talk about that for one moment, because as a nutritionist, a lot of people, oh man, you shouldn't go without eating at all. It's not good for you. Man, I went on a fast about, Maru, what was that, 5 or 6 weeks ago? About 6 weeks ago, man, from a Sunday to a Friday, and all I did was my little smoothie in the morning, and that was it. Nothing else. And all I did was water and that. And I did it for about 5 days. And man, after about the third day, it was interesting because you get, your body got to adjust to what kind of diet is in there. But I don't know. First question is, are you an advocate of fasting? And then the other one is, how do you feel about the theory behind those toxins that can be in those hardcore meats, like, pork and beef that's really heavy on the system, because they hang around in you, man, they hang around for a while. They really push the system to let it go. So I've just learned over the years, when people ask me all the time, wow, Greg, man, you're 70 years old. I cannot believe it. You've run 25 marathons. You're a full-time teacher. How do you do it? How do you do it? And I tell them, man, diet. I tell them that you are mind, body, and spirit. I'm a super advocate of that. I just believe it. So I want you to take it from here, man, because about fasting, about those hardcore meats, what's your position on that?
So look, as I was mentioning earlier, really depending on each person, a lot of people have a hard time digesting, obviously, meats, and some of the beef, because their stomach acids, some people have stronger acids than others, So basically that piece of meat or beef or pork, whatever it is, could probably sit in there a lot longer, waiting to digest, then you would digest, a different type of food that would break down much faster, right? In addition to that, you have, we've all been talking lately about parasites, so obviously we know that pork is heavier in parasites. So you're exposed to parasites as well too. So that's why I'm not an advocate for pork in general. I don't dismiss beef entirely. because
Uh-huh.
I feel that for some people could have some benefits.
Yes.
And some people that it actually they thrive on beef, and I'm not advocate for a carnivore diet. Honestly, there's been a trend of carnivore diet. I'm not for
No,
it. I
never.
think I think some people see immediate benefits, but honestly, long term, I don't see that's sustainable. I see people. The only benefit is if somebody comes out of an ultra processed diet and they go on a meat diet. Yes, they're going to see some benefits because they're giving up processed additives and preservatives and all kinds of junk, and they're eating a real food. Okay, it's meat, but yes, it is a real food versus processed.
Correct.
So they see some benefits. Obviously, now is it sustainable long term? That's something that I'm not convinced that it's going to be sustainable, but people could experience benefits at the beginning, at least in the first stages. So I do feel that obviously depending on each person, some people have a hard time, for example, digesting vegetables. That's what I mentioned. They'll digest a piece of meat faster than some vegetables that cause them bloating. Now,
never heard that before. I always felt because of how hard the meat is, it would be a whole lot more of a tolerance factor to the system. So you're telling me, based on the individual, some people will have more of a difficult time with vegetables than meats? Wow.
I've seen that, and I speak to people, and I speak to clients all the time. So it really depends. It really depends on their stomach acids, and look, also has to do. Sometimes we don't mix our food properly too. There's a lot of there's a little bit of a science to that too. There's certain foods that should not go together. There's certain foods that you should be eating separate. So sometimes people do not know how to pair the foods. Well, so they'll eat a starch, a carb, and a protein.
Gotcha.
A lot of times at the same time. And remember, they break down at different times. So if you're gonna eat a piece of fruit at the same time with a piece of meat and maybe some bread, they're all gonna be, that stomach is gonna be, because they all process different, they all break down different. You're gonna have the fruit that is digesting much faster. Then you're gonna have the meat that's sitting there waiting to be broken down longer. So look, I feel that a good part of our diet should be fruits and vegetables. A good percentage, a large percentage should be fruits and vegetables. That's what I do. And then obviously, for me, I do a small percentage of meat and fish. I do not do pork. I do some grass-fed, pasture-raised meats, organic, or wild-caught fish. And I also advocate a lot for fruits and vegetables to be organic, because we all know a lot of the conventional ones are pretty heavy in pesticides and also genetically modified organisms, so GMOs. So we also have to be careful. We have to be careful with that as well, too.
Great. So as far as fasting goes, what's your position on fasting? How do you feel about it?
I think it's a wonderful thing. And look, fasting is ancient. Fasting is biblical. Fasting it's been proven even at any level, honestly, of whether you're a carnivore, whether you're a vegetarian, whether it doesn't matter what you are. There's so many benefits, and I've done it myself too. And it's funny, when you said Sunday to Friday, I've done one of those, but I've done it on water, so I didn't do anything else except water.
Yeah.
And I felt great. I want to beat it again. I think that one was about, I don't know, I want to say 85 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
I've done a 49 hours first, and then I've done an 85 hours. But look, it is proven, not your body, your cells regenerate, it repairs. So your body needs a breakdown. We all take vacations, right? Because we want to relax. You need to give your immune system the chance, your digestive system a chance to relax, to take a break, because it's working around the clock, and sometimes people they eat their breakfast, then between breakfast and lunch, they'll eat a snack. Then they'll eat, between lunch and dinner, they'll eat another snack. Some people will tell you, eat 6 times a day. Look, our ancestors, when they were out there hunting, looking for food, they weren't eating 6 times a day.
No, not at all.
They were having a meal maybe once a day, and then maybe twice, So your digestive system needs a break. And, when we give it a break for a few days, it really, really, not only your body rests, but your cells regenerates. A lot of the bad cells, die, So, there's a lot of benefits, At the beginning, you probably experienced it too. You may be a little foggy and things like that, but then you start getting energy. You start getting
Exactly.
energy after a couple of days, and you're not hungry, and you kind of want to continue.
Right. Yeah.
Going.
And honestly, I totally concur with you, Gabriel, because if it hadn't been that I'm in the entertainment business and I had a performance that Friday night, and I told my wife, I said, well, I better just stop because I really need to put some food in me that'll give me what I need to stand up for 4 hours to entertain people, to sing, 25, 30 songs and, make sure my voice is strong and everything is okay. And I did. Now, one other thing I want to ask you about, man, is that I happened to look at one of these questions here and I said, wow, I want to ask him that. As a big advocate of health and wellness, what's your step one? The step one to get started on the right track. If you to meet a client, they come in like with me, with my company. And speaking of that, after we do this, I have to do an unconditional plug about my Thursday night masterclass, which I do every week. But I always tell people, take a pre-analysis of where you are and set some goals, and then come back post and see what's up. So what's the one thing you say someone you take this analysis with them? What is that get started thing? What's the one thing you tell them to do that's like in other words, a non-negotiable that they'd have to do?
Absolutely. And look, change is hard. Building new habits, very hard. A lot of people want to do it, right? Nobody wants to be sick. Nobody wants to be obese. Nobody wants to be overweight. People want to be healthy, genuinely want to be healthy. But, and it's not that they don't want to, because sometimes we're being a little harsh and we tell people, oh, look, you're not eating healthy. You're not exercising. It's not that they don't want to. It's very hard. So when I work with people in general and clients, one thing that, we have to make sure that we implement small changes at a time. Because if I tell you, Greg, starting tomorrow, you're going to give up this, you're going to give up this, you're going to give up this, you're going to go 2 hours in the gym every day, six days a week, it's not going to work. You may do it for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, maybe a week, and then you're going to revert back because you're going to get frustrated. It's too much. So one thing that I always start with people, and the first thing that I start with is reviewing their pantry, reviewing their what they're putting in their body, educating them about nutrition, because I believe food is one of the most important steps, and it's something that people can make changes right away. Of course, there's different segments, different branches of health, and we could talk about physical activity, emotional, mental health. So there's different obviously ramifications, but something that people could start with, it's really take a good look at what are they putting in their body. Understand a little bit about reading labels. I always, when I work with people, I always teach them how to read labels. Very important, because look, I tell them, go back to basics. Go back to basic. How was food over 100 and something years ago, right? It wasn't in a package with 20 ingredients that you couldn't pronounce. It was basically plain whole foods, So if you're gonna eat fruits, if you're gonna eat vegetables, whether you animal protein or not, or fish, but basically stay away from packaged food, ultra processed food. So little by little, basically, that's the first step that I usually like to tell people. It's really look at what they're putting in their body, and look, you cannot eliminate it all, but make small changes. Look, you're eating, let's say, I don't know, maybe you're eating cereal 5 days a week, those sugary cereals filled of colorants and additives and artificial dyes. And look, okay, maybe you won't be able to give it up, right away. Okay, let's switch at least to an organic version, maybe less sugar, things like that, even though I'm not an advocate for cereal at all, but in general. But so make small changes like that. And then maybe we can reduce it from 5 days to 3 days, and like that slowly. If it's something that we feel that it's harmful, we look to eventually eliminate it, but implement small changes. So I think nutrition is the biggest one where we can make an impact before we move on to the other steps.
Well, listen, this is something that's critically important to me that I had to speak about, because when you gave your intro, you spoke about the impact that losing your parents had on you, and you just decided 17 years ago to become this advocate. And there was something in your small bio that I love what you used there. You said you want to do something to help preventive health, preventive health, those two words. You want to give people a lifestyle management change to incorporate preventive health. And then, in other words, in the very last three words there was fostering healthy communities. And I asked you the question tonight, and your immediate response was from the diet perspective. Now, you and I both know that we are mind, body, and spirit. No matter what you're doing with your diet, I always tell people that physical activity is critical. I always tell people that being still and understanding that you have the mindset from a spiritual perspective to empower yourself from the inside out will help you to be able to stay strong about that diet, to stay strong about your physical activity. Because when I tell people about that myself, that's something that I say to them. I'm big on non-negotiables if you want to make the change. So just some things that you've got to do. And I really concur with you when you said it. That is the first thing someone's got to do is pull back from that table. But would you be a big advocate to say that the next one obviously would be being disciplined and persistent and consistent about exercise? Because I said to myself, if you got 24/7, 168 hours a week, you got to carve out something that'll work. And you being in this arena, I just wanted to know how much are you putting emphasis on the fact that it is mind, body, and spirit? How much of that comes into, because I can tell you say you really want to foster healthy communities. I just feel big on that. I really do.
Absolutely. And Greg, that's a great point. And physical activity is crucial. And honestly, look, that physical activity doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go in the gym and push, weights 2 hours every day. No. Look, you don't have to do that. Look, if you could do some strength training, great. If you can work on your muscle, great. But if not, look, start small. I always tell people, look, if you're going to walk around the block, take your family, walk, a bike, run, do things that don't cost you anything. You don't have to go spend on a gym membership, swim. There's tons of activities that you could do them. Obviously, they don't cost you a thing. Carve out 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, whatever you could do, build from there. Start with walking, then start with jogging, and move on to a little bit more than that. So, but again, it's building those habits, that's where the problem is. And a lot of people don't always have a why, or they're not really strong. They don't think of that prevention, just like you mentioned, right? We want to prevent, right? You really have to get into people's mind and make them understand what could the impact be if they don't do it, right?
Wow. But something? Hey, I'm sorry when I hear things that I just have to say to you. See, I have this pre and post, what I call personal empowerment analysis I do with people. I just got actually a new client last week that came and watched my Thursday night masterclass, which I'm going to kind of segue into right now, because I realized, man, we've already been at it for 37 minutes. It doesn't even seem like it. I knew it would be this way with you tonight, because you're so well informed, man. And I'm just so happy that our viewers, our listeners, and your episode will be there for definitely some time. I want to make sure, first and foremost, I'm going to give you an opportunity in a minute, but I want people to know that every Thursday night is my masterclass, personal empowerment class. I call it the Strive Masterclass. I have an acronym for the word strive, that we should study, try, remember, innovate, visualize, and educate ourselves forever. I don't think that ever stops. I think finding that in mind, body, and spirit. So what I'm offering tonight, there's a link right there in the comments. I have a summer special. I'm asking people to take a challenge with me. Take a 30, 60, 90-day challenge. Either one of these books would be yours if you like one. The books alone, one of them is a hard copy, $24.99. The other one $17.99. But point I'm making is that it's normally for the Get Activated community, $97 a month. And I would love for anyone who's watching and listening tonight to come to the Strive Masterclass on Thursday nights. We're live on Facebook, live on IG, and we're definitely live on Zoom, where you'll get far more benefit from it, because the PowerPoints are there. The data that you can use to evaluate yourself is there. Every single week, there's a personal empowerment analysis taken. So for $49.99, half of that, you can come into the community, and I advise people to just give me 30, 60, 90 days of your life. Come out of those 24/7, 168 hours a week. Take 14 hours out of that whole week. Just think about that. If you put 14 hours into saying, I am mind, body, and spirit, I want to be a better advocate for health for myself. Because one of the questions I had, and you mentioned, that's what made me segue to this, was this. Are you aware of the consequences of ignoring the physical? That's one of my core questions I have in mind, body, and spirit analysis. And the last question, in the first question, when I'm speaking about physical, and it's in this book, there's a 4-week commitment to this book. This one is about peak performance and time management. That's why it's entitled 30 Days to New You. This one is about taking action. There are literally 4 weeks of activities here. And if you take that analysis and you realize you're saying yes and no to these questions, you automatically need to know you're living with imbalance. And for me on Thursday nights, I'm sharing that. I want people to come out. I want them to take the analysis with me. I'm giving them, I got 26 strategies that I've worked with as a marathoner. You know, it's 26 miles in a marathon. So for some reason, I came up with these A to Z strategies. I put them in 4 quadrants, and I just break them down for people. And on Thursday nights, man, every Thursday at 7 o'clock, all you got to do is just go live on Facebook. You'll find me. Go live on IG. But also, if you DM the word strive, you can get right in and be a part of it. If you go over and click that link that's in the chat tonight, it'll take you right to my Stripe page. You can get in for $49.99. And if you only do a month and don't want to do this, I'm okay. You guaranteed 30-day money back. I'll let anyone know that. So that's my plug tonight. Now, I want to segue back to you because I want to know if you could tell people how to get in touch with you, tell people about where are you, what you're doing with the Center of Paradise, because I'm not through with you. I got a few other questions, but let's go ahead and let you disclaim and give that information to our listeners.
Absolutely. So they could get in touch with me, you know, obviously by email and phone, but in addition to that, on social media. So I am active. I mean, not only on the company at Center _ of Paradise. So Center of Paradise on Instagram, or Center of Paradise on Facebook as well too, TikTok as well. And I also under Holistic Dad under the personal as well too. I do a lot of health tips there on Instagram. And, you know, there's a lot of, you know, I do it for kids. I do it for adults too. So I put a lot of good information out there as well too. And also by email at Gabriel at centerofparadise.com too. And then look, the company, it's centerofparadise.com. People can see our products. You know, we have currently 4 products, amazing. In addition to the Manuka honey that we spoke about, we have an amazing oil of oregano, which is a great supplement for immune support. Mm-hmm. And then also 2 essential oil, immune restart essential oil blends. So all of these are amazing items that not only I've used for many, many years, but a lot of people have been blessed, you know, to be able to use them and have a good alternative in addition to conventional medicine. So great products.
Excellent. Now those oils, could you tell me a little bit, just out of my own curiosity, what are the real benefits of those oils that you just had, the little bottles that you were holding in your hand there? What type of oils and what is the health benefit to the user?
Absolutely. So look, one of the ones that I truly believe in, and I think it's kind of like the king of natural remedies, is the oil of oregano. So for people that don't know, it is a natural antibiotic, antiviral, antifungal. So look, oregano has been used for medicinal purposes for thousands of years. You know, they were using that back in the days, not only to cook with it, but also as a natural remedy for various ailments. So this is basically an extract from oregano leaves. Wild Mediterranean, Greece and Turkey are some of the best regions for oregano. Center of Paradise is Turkish. And then very, very potent. Now, all of oregano, it's not as pleasant tasting as the Manuka honey. So, you know, it's not sweet, but it works amazing. So for the people that like spicy stuff, basically they'll take they comes with a pipette dropper, they'll put it right under their tongue if they like spicy stuff. A lot of people don't. I could tell you probably about 90% of people don't. So they'll mix the drops in a liquid, whether it's water, juice, or tea, drink it once a day, preventative, 3 to 4 times a day. If they are sick with a cold, flu, infection of any kind, fungus, candida, a lot of people have a hard time getting rid of candida, or topically skin infection, toenail fungus. So it's an amazing natural remedies. Honestly, at home for us, look, I haven't taken any conventional medicine in over 15 years.
Wait a minute. Say that. Wait a minute. My wife's trying to tell me something here, but I'm listening to you. You haven't taken any medicine in 16 years when you get sick. Well, then it sounds to me, let me just say this, man. I met you in the store. You look marvelous, man. You seem like your BMI is in check, even though I'm not a big advocate of this body mass index thing. You know, hey, man, your BMI needs to be this. Your BMI needs to be, no, man. I'm an advocate of something I call the OPA. And the OPA is very simple. Optimum physical appearance. I weigh around 200 pounds right now, and I can live with this till I die. Of course, I'd like to drop maybe 5 or 10, but I'm living with this because it's optimum for where I am at 70 years old. I'm 6 feet tall, and I still have functionality. Now, I did have a meniscus surgery, and that stopped me from running marathons because I ran 20 marathons in 1 decade. I literally, when I ran this first one in 1997, Disney, I was just hooked. A little history about me, so you know, and everybody else who don't know me, that I'm a retired teacher, but I'm also a retired head coach for cross country. And I didn't start running marathons until I was 42 years old. And that little fear monster was right there, Gabriel. Oh, you're too old. You can't do it. You don't have the time. You're a teacher already. You're performing. Blah 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 blah. Shut up! I had to tell that noise in my head to be quiet, you know, because the fear of failure about anything will win the game. And when I conquered that and did this the same way with these 2 books behind me, it was something that happened that once we get disciplined, and I always say get fired up about it and remain steadfast. I know I'm speaking to the choir with you, sir, because, I mean, you're a great-looking gentleman. You're in perfect health. You're a family man. You say you have children, right?
I have children, 2 boys, 12 and 14-year-olds, and also they've never touched any medicine in their life. No antibiotics. No Tylenol, no nothing ever in their life. So, you know, it is, and, you know, something to, you know, to touch on, you know, because I'm glad when you put out the books and you explain, look, it's the same as with nutrition, right? You know, mindset is so important because just like, you know, the books can help people, you know, whether it's with their personal development, whether it's their wealth, whether it's the financial, or whether it's something health related. These are things that if we don't get in the right state of mind and we don't have a strong why. Okay. And I always tell people, look, why should you be healthy, right? Not only to look good, feel good, be energetic, have vitality, but also think of your as you age, right? Wouldn't it be nice for you to be self-sufficient? Wouldn't it be nice to have that energy, you know, not to have to be dependent on anyone, not to have pain, not to have a bag of pills with you all the time, you know, and like I see people all the time to just feel great. Look, I'm not afraid. Some people are afraid of aging, you know, they're afraid of getting up in age, you know. If you take care of yourself, and same thing with the books and the personal development. Look, I always tell people there's a book for everything if you really want to, but if you really get it in your mind, there's a book, you know, about finance, there's a book about everything. You just have to make the decision. So your books could help people with that, just like, you know, the nutrition and physical activity could help.
Hey, you know something? I'm going to intervene and say this, man. You're speaking about books, you're speaking about this, but one thing you said about 3 times in the last 3 minutes, your mind. Yeah. I got a shirt that I wear on Thursday nights. I might probably wear it this Thursday. Mindset is everything. And once it takes residence here, there was a conversation I used to have with my kids all the time. And I would tell them, you look through the peephole and you decide at your front door if you want to let the visitor in or not. Your life is no different because people and relationships totally impact who we are. That's why I say, if you're around toxic people, if you're in toxic relationships, and you still develop bad habits from those people, from those relationships, from those environments, it's no matter what kind of book someone put in front of you, that is back to, once again, my non-negotiables about time management, about bad habits, about toxic people, and about living with balance. Because imbalance, to me, I haven't coined the term, but I use it a lot. Imbalance is organized chaos.
I agree.
That's just the way I feel about it. And you can live with it. There are people who live with imbalance for decades, man. They stay on bad jobs. They stay in bad personal relationships. They stay in a bad diet situation. They stay in bad relationships with their own children. They're never, ever in this place where their mindset, once again, is functional to the point that they realize they're the captain of the ship. And,
Right.
and on Thursday nights for me, unconditional plug to my Zooms on Thursday. It's theactivator.net. The people looking at the screen right there can see right down that left corner. Theactivator.net is my website. My wife was asking me to ask you about sunlight. You know, and do you have, are you an author and have books of your own?
No, at least not yet.
Okay, so she was wondering because she really is into everything you were talking about tonight. And Miriam just walked over and said, "Does he have a book?" And so guess what? I'm putting you on the spot, man. And right at 50 minutes tonight, right when it said right there, 50, I'm putting it on the spot for you. You got to come back to the show. You got to have your book in your hand. This is what month? We're in the month of August. Now I'm going to say to you, maybe I can coach you about that. I do have 2 books behind me. Maybe I can mentor you about that. Not being facetious or funny, but I'm saying to you, hey, man, you're a wealth of knowledge, my brother. You are definitely someone who would impact the lives. And more than anything, like your bio says right there, you are about a humanitarian change. You're about bringing about improvements and you said preventive health measures. And if you can put it, obviously, you're the expert already, because honestly, you've really inspired and empowered me about a lot of things from a health perspective tonight. I knew this conversation would be great like that. That's why when we were having those technical issues, I was saying, wait a minute, the devil is a lie. I'm not going to let that happen. No, we're going to get online tonight. People are going to see this episode. It's going to be archived on my channel. They can go there. I want to make sure that when we do get off the call tonight, you give me that same contact information. I'll update it in your description. But I want people to know this tonight. Mind, body, and spirit is non-negotiable. When you live in mind, body, and spirit, you are a success story. When you live in mind, body, and spirit, you are creating a more healthier community for us to live in. Because here's what typically happens. When you're not living with balance, you eventually will get sick. You will get sick physically, you will get sick mentally, or you'll get both. And especially if you're not grounding yourself where all the real power is. I ask that question every week. Have you discovered where the true source is? And I tell them, and I just almost answer the question for them. I'll tell them it's nowhere out there. And to me, Gabriel, it sounds like you're the kind of guy that you spend time in quiet retreat. Before we get off, what have you found to be the benefits? And are you a meditating person?
You know what? I try in a noisy world. It's very difficult these days to pull aside. But I do enjoy quiet moments of reflection. Not so much. I've done meditation because actually it used to be a good one. When I went to the health coaching school, we used to always start a lot of the classes with about 5 minutes of a meditation exercise. And actually
Okay.
that was always it would help relax, it would help you relax, any tension, to take away any tension, and people will be more relaxed during the session as well too. So I breathing, exercising, and a little bit of meditation. So I strongly believe in that. There's a lot of people that have built that habit, but again, it's about building a habit, which is not an easy thing to do. We all know that 90% of the time we're on automatic pilot.
Well,
we
listen,
only have that 10%. So
you gotta let me just say this to you, man. Anyone listening to me, watching me, who knows me very well know, and my wife will tell you, I'm a big advocate about personal empowerment from the inside first. If you have a lifestyle management where you're jumping out of the bed, jumping in the shower, grabbing something real quick, and going to the concrete jungle, you're blowing it. I'm just going to speak truth to you. You're blowing it. There is so much energy out there that's bad. And the only way to anchor yourself against it is to empower yourself with this place in you. You may not be a religious person, but I think that all of us need to be spiritual. You don't have to be someone that's getting up and going to church every Sunday or going to Bible study on Wednesdays and all of that. Of course you should, because it will empower you spiritually. But even if you didn't, but you learn how to stop, be still and know that I'm God, as Psalm 46:10 would say. You know something, Gabriel? I won't leave my house without reading Psalm 91 every day. I don't care what's going on in my world. I don't care how rushed I am. I don't care. He who dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. You alone are my refuge and my fortress. I put my trust in you to protect me against the snare of the fowler, the noise and pestilence. Cover me with your feathers. Under your wings shall I trust. Your truth shall be my shield and my buckler. And my brother, I'm going to tell you like this. Once I do that, I don't know. It's something about that feeling of feeling like I'm all right. Everything's going to be all right.
Because you feel, you feel like you have a lot of times people live in fear. People live that they're on their own. But when you feel like you have someone over for you, someone watching for you, you have that sense of peace, So you're at peace because you know that nothing could happen to you because you have a protector. So that's why. And look, faith has proven to be healing to people.
Oh, yes.
People have healed themselves just by faith alone, without anything else, by faith alone. So, it's very, very important, gratitude. A lot of times people don't understand how crucial gratitude is in being healthy, because we're always looking at what we don't have, right? We're always looking at what's missing, but we fail to look at all the blessings, So once we start counting our blessings, you see that the list is much longer than the what's lacking, But and that's healing as well.
Oh, no doubt, man. I totally agree with you that, Joel Osteen, man, he's always talking about his mom that had cancer, had been diagnosed as terminal 41 years ago, and she kicked it. Between her and her husband, his dad, they decided we're going to go about this from a different angle. We're going to go deep spiritually, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I know. Look, I've known personally people that have done it. The original founder of the vitamin supplements Garden of Life, Jordan Rubin, he has a powerful story, not only for nutrition, but he did a 40-day fasting and praying, and he got healed. He got healed of cancer.
Look at that.
So it is powerful. It is.
Well, you said it earlier in this conversation, sir. You said that every 6 months there's this regeneration of all the cell activity in us, and I do believe that. Every day I even rub my knees. I'll have my meditation and have my time, and I'm rejuvenated. I'm regenerated. I'm reinvigorated. And I say it with honest conviction that whatever is going on internally, I know that my spirit can redirect it. It can resurface things. My wife has some struggles with a very rare condition she had to go through, and she and I both know she constantly believes in the power of prayer and the power of just being still. And I'm telling you that people take a lot for granted, and I will not. I'm just sorry. And like I said, because I'm in the fourth quarter, Gabriel, I'm just looking for some overtime. If I can hang around here, my dad died at 87. Didn't even meet my father until I was 50. My mother passed away 2 days before 99. And man, that's why when you disclose your motivation, it touched me, man. I say, wow, this was a young man, and his parents, God called them on very soon like that. And both of them with cancer within 3 months. That's traumatizing within itself. So to see you here right now, to see that was a catalyst for motivation for you, sir, that you decided you be an advocate, you get out there, you do all the things that you feel could just be a game changer for you. So for me, all I'm saying to you is this, man. I'm going to wrap this up on a very, very positive note. I thank you. I thank you so much for what you shared tonight. I thank you for opening up about your personal reasons why, because I know somebody was inspired, somebody was empowered tonight, and above all things, they were well educated. And I'm holding you to this now. By this time next summer, your book is already out. You've already had a bestseller. I want you to manifest it on this show tonight. Gabriel A. I can't say his name. Can you pronounce that last name for our audience? I'm going to tell you why I can't say it. Now watch this. Tell them your last name.
It's Amarazeanu. Gabriel Amarazeanu.
Amarazeanu.
You did good. You did good.
I almost got it.
And Greg, I truly appreciate your platform and what you're doing, because just like I'm inspiring and I'm working on inspiring people, the same thing you're doing. And honestly, I didn't understand 17 years ago why why my parents had to go so young, why they had to go. I didn't understand the reason until later on. If it wasn't for that, I would have never been able to impact thousands of people that I've been able to impact with the education, not only with the products, because products are secondary. I'm always about the education on with people. So,
well, man, we probably got to every one of these, and I didn't think we would. And I'm just happy that you told me they were great questions. They were game changers for me. They opened a lot of doors to me, answered a lot of questions. And I'm just going to say this to you. I always kick the music back in the way I began, my friend, to bring it to an end. Ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman he is to me the bomb. He decided as an advocate for change, he decided that he would do this. So Gabriel, and I want to say, I want to welcome you back when you got your book, and you can come back before then.
Sounds good. We're going to line it up behind you right there with the other 2 books.
Maybe around Christmas resolutions and all that good stuff. So I would definitely like to say that I would want you to come on back, man. So, hey, anytime the turf is open for you, come on back. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I was just going to say, Gabriel A., Center of Paradise, thank you so very much, sir. And until the next time, I'm going to say, go out there, take care, mind, body, and spirit. See you, my man.
Man, thank you very much, Greg. A pleasure. Have a wonderful evening.
Listen, it was just my pleasure to have you here. I'm going to stop the stream for a minute. Hold on with me because I just want to say this to you.